Balance is a verb, not a noun. Most owners I know have wrestled with this idea of balance. They want to be present at home. They want to lead well at work. They want to be healthy, calm, thoughtful, available, and clear. They want to make good decisions without feeling like every part of life is competing for whatever energy is left. I get it. And then business happens. A customer needs something, a team member drops a ball, a payroll is coming, the schedule shifts, a vendor issue pops up, someone needs a decision, a problem that should have been handled 2 weeks ago lands back on the owner's desk. And once again, balance feels like something that other people talk about, but you rarely get to experience. I want to push back on that a little bit. I don't think that balance is something that you arrive at and then possess. I do not think it is a noun. I think balance is a verb. It is something you practice. It is something you return to. It is something you choose in small moments before the business pulls you back into old patterns. Think about standing on one foot. Balance is not stillness. Your body is constantly making adjustments. You're not frozen. You're actively holding balance. Business ownership works the same. The owner who is seeking balance is not trying to create a perfect split between work, family, health, faith, rest, leadership, right? That sounds nice, but most owners live in a world where demands are uneven, right? Some weeks require more from the business, some seasons require more from the family. Some problems need immediate attention. The issue is not that life gets uneven. The issue is whether the owner has a way to return. That's where many of you get caught. You don't lose the balance all at once. We tend to drift. You answer, one or more email at night, you skip one workout, you miss the quiet morning, the say yes tomorrow, one thing that they should have. You carry one more decision instead of teaching someone else how to think through it. I've been there, I've done it. I struggle with it. Sometimes it's just that week, but sometimes that week becomes the operating rhythm, right? It sticks. And this is where balance becomes more than a personal wellness idea. It becomes like a leadership issue. Balance is a verb, not a noun. When the owner is constantly out of balance, the business often learns to depend on that imbalance. The team gets used to the owner being available at hours. Customers get used to expectations. Managers get used to bringing the decisions back to the owner. And the business keeps running, but it may be running on the owner's sacrificed space. That can look noble for a while, but as we all know, it can also become very, very dangerous. Because when the business needs the owner to stay unhealthy and unavailable at home, emotionally overloaded, or constantly reactive in order to function, the business is giving the owner this information. It's saying too much depends on you. That doesn't mean that the owner has failed, right? It doesn't mean that something needs to become clear, or it does mean that something needs to become clear. A role, a standard, a decision, a meeting rhythm, a value, an expectation, a boundary. A person needs to be trusted, trained, corrected, or freed. Balance as a noun is, do I have the right amount of everything? Balance as a verb asks a better question. What am I allowing that keeps pulling me out of alignment? What decision keeps coming back to me that I should be transferred to the team? What expectation is still living in my head? And even asking the team the rhythms, like what rhythm would help me return before I drift so far, right? How do I get back to that good rhythm? What value needs to guide through this choice, just like the values in the business? Those questions matter because balance is not about escaping the business. It's about leading the business in a way that does not quietly consume the owner. Balance is a verb, not a noun. The alignment method looks at this through values, purpose, vision, roles, expectations, and rhythm. If your stated values says family, health, faith, excellent service, values, or integrity matters, then those values have to shape how the business operates. They can not only be a personal hopes of the owner that he tries to protect after the business takes its share. The values have to become decisions. If family matters, what does that change about meeting times, owner availability, and after hours communication? If excellent matters, what standard needs to be taught so that every quality issue does not come back to the owner? If health matters, what has to be removed, delegated, clarified, or scheduled so the owner is not pretending burnout is commitment? That last one might sting a little bit, and it should because we do it. Many of you have spent years being rewarded for imbalance. They were the ones who stayed late, solved the problems, carried the stress, made the save, and kept the business moving forward. That effort may have been necessary in some seasons. I want to be careful here. There are times when ownership requires sacrifice, but sacrifice cannot be the whole operating model. At some point, the owner's job is to notice what the sacrifice is teaching the business. It is teaching the business to think, or is it teaching them to wait? Is it creating clarity, or is it preserving dependency? The next time you feel out of balance, consider resisting that quick fix. Do not only ask, how do I get a break? Ask, what is this imbalance trying to show me? Be aware, be curious. Maybe it's showing you that a team member needs clear expectations so they can do it themselves. Maybe it's showing you that the calendar is not reflecting your values. Maybe it's showing you that you have confused availability with leadership. Balance is not a final destination. It is the act of noticing sooner, returning faster, choosing more clearly, building rhythms that help the business carry more of what sits on the owner's shoulders. That's just good leadership. And it might be one of the most honest ways to find out whether your values are actually operating in the business or only surviving around the edges that we've created. I look forward to supporting you along your journey, and I hope you have yourself an amazing, wonderful day. And if you want additional support, go to callwithbrad.com, and I will join you for a free call on the epitome coaching or the right next step, however I can serve. Have an amazing, wonderful day.